Alright, and welcome to episode 11 of my What is Hitman Roulette series. Today, we're going to be discussing one of the smaller maps, Whittleton Creek. Now, coming off of Miami, Santa Fortuna, Mumbai, this map is definitely a change of pace. It's a much smaller map in every sense. It only has 2 targets, but the actual size of the map is so small in comparison to what we've just been through with the previous 3 maps especially. Whittleton Creek is actually considered one of the 6 smaller maps in the game. Just for reference, those maps are Paris, Hokkaido, New York, Dubai, Dartmoor, and this map. They might not be physically the smallest maps of the game, but they definitely have the fastest times when it comes to roulette spins the most consistently. Typically, while playing one of the little 6 maps, you're going to be doing spins, and the timing you get in those spins usually ranges from around 4 minutes to around 6 minutes. That's an average ballpark, so if you're a fan of the smaller maps, great. Whittleton Creek is definitely one of the maps for you. It's absolutely one of my more well-liked maps in the game. I truly love this map. It reminds me a lot of A New Life from Blood Money, and it actually makes sense because this one is called Another Life, and it is technically a sequel mission to that mission. It's treated in more or less the same way, just with a little more in-depth detail to it, and I really appreciate the suburban neighborhood feel to this one. It really gives it sort of a cozy demeanor, despite the targets obviously having something sinister going on. Fun fact about Whittleton Creek, this map contains 20 disguises. 20 disguises means that this map is actually 3rd place in the entire trilogy as far as the making of this video is concerned, in terms of how many disguises are located on the map. This one has Santa Fortuna, Mumbai, and Hokkaido beaten out, all by 1 disguise. It's pretty damn impressive. And keep in mind that does not include the suit. So, holy shit, Whittleton Creek. You go, girl. Anyways, I just want to make sure that I bring one thing up before we move on. The starting locations, I'm not even going to bother going over that right now because there's just so little reason to go over them. Basically, if you see the disguise in the spin, start in that disguise unless the spin is suit, in which case you want to start default. Otherwise, default is always a great start. Suit start is fantastic for this map. Just go with what makes everything easier. Just shave off 1 disguise if you're able to. If the spin requires you to have, I don't know, for example, Gardner and Cassidy's bodyguard, start Gardner, just because that gets rid of one of the disguises that you need. Beyond that, there's no reason really to discuss starting locations. So, carrying on with the video, let's move on to the target isolations. So starting right off with Mr. Hugh Janus, the easiest and most common isolation for him is you're just going to take a right as soon as you start, say default for example. Janus's house is just down this pathway here if you follow the directions on screen. It's the 2nd house to the left if you're facing the front entrances from this side of the neighborhood. Just make your way in here and you can either choose to come up through the basement, come up through the top section via climbing a drainage pipe, or going through the back door itself, which is the way I chose to do on screen here. Just make sure you avoid the guards that are patrolling in the backyard. They're pretty easy to get out of the way of. You just need to hide in a bush until the coast is clear, or cause some distraction shots when the coast is clear for those as well, and you're good to go. Get in through the back door. Once you've entered the house, make sure you clear out the 1 guard that's hanging out in the kitchen. He's going to be roaming around in this area. Knock him out, and then once the 1 minute 40 mark approaches, Janus is going to be heading over to one of the windows, and Gunta is going to have his back to you. Take out Gunta and then take out Janus before he turns around. Alternatively, you can hit Janus when he's sitting down. He's not going to be able to see you as well, just because he happens to be looking down during this animation. Take him out while he's either having his back to you or sitting down, and you should be fine. Make sure he doesn't really make any big noise, because if he does, you have a very high chance of getting ripped from the guards upstairs. Once you've knocked Janus out, drag his body a little bit closer over to Gunta's body, because the guards upstairs have been known to catch Janus while he's hanging out just on the couch unconscious, due to their patterns of patrol. So be aware of that, and once you've knocked out Janus and dragged his body over here, you're good to go. You can leave him here indefinitely and wait until you grab all the melee items and disguises you need for the kill, and carry on with the map. The second isolation for Janus requires the Gramophone Lure, that's located in one of the rooms on the top floor of Janus's house here. Get up through the drainage pipe to enter the top floor immediately once you enter Janus's house. The gramophone room is actually directly above the stairwell heading upstairs. Otherwise, it's kitty-corner to the bathroom that you'll be entering as soon as you head up through this drainage pipe. Get into the room by avoiding the guards up here, trigger the gramophone, and leave it playing. Don't turn it off like you would do with other triggered objects in the game. This one needs to remain playing so that Janus will hear it and begin making his way upstairs. Once he's entered the room, you have an opportunity here to knock out Gunta and then immediately either kill or knock out Janus depending on what the kill is. This is a very excellent lure for Janus, especially if you're getting him late in the map, but be aware of the fact that this lure only works when Janus is actually inside of the house. If he's standing outside on his porch, He will not hear the gramophone until he enters the house again, so try to trigger it while he's still inside. Once you've knocked him out in here, you can leave him here indefinitely and no one's going to see the body. This is a great isolation for fall kills or loud ballistics or anything of that sort. For Nolan Cassidy, the easiest and most effective lure that I think works for Nolan most of the time requires a secret dart and a 4-minute timestamp. You're going to be heading over to the Fumigated house, which is also James Batty's house. Very easy to spot on the map, as there is an Exterminator, an Exterminator van, and a big fumigation sign on the front of the house. It's covered with a big fumigation tent. You can't fucking miss the place. Jump the fence of the house that's being fumigated, and then sit in the backyard for a little bit and wait for Nolan Cassidy to start making a phone call. Once he starts making that phone call at around 4 minutes, you're going to seeker him, and he's actually going to isolate himself into the backyard. Just keep in mind that James Batty and a garbage man both wander around through this backyard from time to time, so you're going to need to deal with at least James Batty by knocking him out, especially if the kill for Nolan Cassidy happens to be a loud one. Nolan's going to get sick and come into the area and start puking in the bird bath. Before he does, you're going to knock out his bodyguard right behind him, and then either kill or knock out Nolan Cassidy here. This is an excellent isolation point for kills like loud ballistics, fall kills for Nolan Cassidy, live kills, etc. and so forth. Fantastic spot, definitely my favorite isolation of them all, but it does require a secret dart, so since it requires resources, there are other options just in case you don't have the resources. The next option, which seems to be pretty common in the community, is isolating Nolan in his garage. He gets into the garage with his bodyguard at around 4 minutes and 40 seconds. You can actually go right up behind the bodyguard and just knock him out at 4:40 once you're inside of the garage, and then knock out Cassidy immediately afterwards. Despite the garage door being open, there is no one actually around to see these bodies, so you can leave them both here with the garage door fully open and no one's going to come in and check out the bodies. They're completely safe in here. This is a great spot for Nolan, loud ballistics, a late live kill on him, etc. and so forth. The Fumigator Isolation is an interesting one, not very commonly used, but definitely handy to know. It only really works if Nolan is in the house still. How it works is you're going to head straight from starting at the default location, for example, and up to the construction site area that's taking place on the left side of you. There is a green shipping container. You need to break into the shipping container, so you do need a lockpick or a crowbar for this. And once you break into the shipping container, there is some pesticide spray or pesticide bullshit, whatever the fuck it is. You're going to grab this little canister here, and you're going to head out of the shipping container and over to Nolan Cassidy's house. From that point, you're going to go over to this generator, and you're going to dump the contents of the canister into this generator here. Don't turn it on just yet, because you still need to trigger an alert so that Nolan Cassidy gets upstairs. The easiest lockdown for Cassidy here, I'd say, is if you knock out the bodyguard in the backyard here that's roaming around, and climb the rooftops, and then shoot this case with the guns inside. It's a glass case, and if you either choose to elbow it and smash it that way or shoot it with a pistol, it'll automatically trigger an alarm in his house, and Nolan would be then escorted upstairs with all his bodyguards. At that point, you can turn on the generator, and everybody in the house will be knocked unconscious. This bug spray stuff actually acts like a mega snail, because with the snail, if you were to knock out Cassidy with a bunch of other people being witnesses to him getting knocked out, you'd get automatic red guns. However, this method you get to keep your green guns, so that's why it's very effective, and it's definitely an interesting isolation. You can do all sorts of kills this way, and it's definitely a quicker way to get Nolan isolated at the beginning of the map, and then you still have plenty of time to go after Janice after this as well. And the last isolation that I'm going to showcase that I feel is very important to know is the isolation that you're going to require in order to get him with a falling object kill or a super easy late game loud ballistics kill. For this isolation, you're going to need to be dressed up as the real estate broker. We'll discuss that a little bit later on in the video, how to get that disguise. You're going to walk up to Cassidy anywhere on the map, as long as you're not entering his house and trespassing, and then you're going to need to trigger a prompt where they have a conversation. As soon as you trigger the prompt, you're free to go. You can just run right over to the house that's for sale. It's basically next door to the party house that's going on. Very easy to see. There's a big for sale sign right in front of it. You can't miss it. Pick up the key that's in the pot right beside the front door and enter the house. And then just take out the plumber that's hanging out inside here, because he can cause an issue if he stays conscious for this. Nolan Cassidy's going to run over and meet up with you inside the house, and slowly but surely his bodyguard will follow suit. Wait for both of them to enter the house, and as soon as his bodyguard enters, close the door behind you and knock out the bodyguard. At that point, you just KO Cassidy and drag his body over to the chandelier. You can get him with a falling object here at any point. This room is also completely soundproof as long as the plumber is unconscious. So go grab the appropriate disguise, come back, and either get the falling object kill, loud ballistic kill, whatever you're going to do, and you're good to go. Now, I'm going to discuss the clues here real quick, just because there are players out there that are brand new to the game that want to take up roulette that aren't too sure about how the clues work or where any of them are located, so here's my little gift to you. If you want to skip this part because you already know where all the clues are and how to get them, then just go to the timestamps in the comments below, and you should be good to go. For the first clue, you have two options. There's either the photograph in Janus's basement, which is quite commonly grabbed as far as roulette spins are concerned. You just head down into Janus's basement once you're in his house, knock out the guard that's roaming around in the basement. His body will never get found as nobody comes down here as long as you don't make any major noise. This room is soundproof, however, so you can drag Janus down here and kill him with a loud ballistics or a loud explosive or whatever. Nobody's going to hear it, just as long as everybody in the house is KO'd. There's a photograph just on his desk over here. Grab the photograph and get the hell out of here. Alternatively, for the first clue at the very start of the map, if you head straight and then take a left inside of Nolan Cassidy's garage, you can trigger this generator inside here. That's going to immediately alert Spencer the Hammer Green. He is Nolan Cassidy's main bodyguard, and he's going to come investigate the sound of the generator, knock him out, and he's got a letter on him that acts as the first clue as well. So you can choose to take the letter or the photograph. It's really up to you. For the second clue, again, you have two options. The main option, of course, being the newspaper that you get in Batty's shed. He's wandering around here, so make sure you KO James Batty and get inside his shed here. There's a newspaper sitting on the table, very easy to get. Alternatively, you can also grab the newspaper from James Batty's unconscious body himself, so that part's up to you as well. There's a second option for this clue as well, but we'll discuss that option when we talk about the disguises. And for the third clue, it's very simple. You grab the shovel from the same shed that you grabbed the newspaper article from James Batty, and you head straight towards the creek here. Now, there's a couple of birdhouses on the creek side here. This birdhouse that I'm showcasing here, directly kitty corner, sort of diagonally left, is going to be a small clearing in the grass. There's going to be a prompt where you can see the word dig pop up. It's a pain in the ass to find your first time through, but once you've found it once, you'll have it forever, thank fuck. Dig up the cigar box that's buried here, grab the cigar box, and there you go. That's clue number 3. The alternative to this clue is the microfilm, but that is a complete waste of time and takes way too long. No one ever goes for that clue. It's horse shit, don't even bother. Alright, now moving on to the good shit, let's talk disguises. First off, we have the Archean robes. If we start default, you're going to take a right immediately and head straight. The house that the Archean robes is located in is directly beside Janus's house. So you're going to climb the drainage pipe here on this house, you're going to get up to the top floor, and you're going to traverse the area up here until you see a locked door. At that point, you're going to need to either grab a crowbar or a lockpick or shoot it open, and step inside and grab the robes that are just hanging up in this room. Fun fact about this disguise is it doubles as the clue number 2 alternative. That being said, the newspaper is the other alternative for clue number 2, so why would you ever grab the disguise, as the newspaper is so easy to get? Even if the Archean robes are a prerequisite for the spin, you can still grab the newspaper. It's basically free, so really this alternative to that clue is just kind of redundant, but it's good to know just in case anyways. For the barbecue owner, there are two options here. If you have the gum from the 7 Deadly Sins, you can actually just run up to the barbecue owner that's standing right beside the barbecue, right behind the bar here where you would serve Nolan Cassidy his fries that you can poison for his kill, etc. and so forth, that you can do for the mission story. You can just plant the gum beside the barbecue owner. He's gonna see it, and then eventually he'll grab it and eat it and eventually pass out. At that point, just change disguises right behind this bar and head the fuck out of here. If you don't have the gum, however, you can bring a breaching charge and grab this fire extinguisher directly behind where the barbecue owner is. Drop the breaching charge from your inventory while you're holding the fire extinguisher in your hand. You'll drop both the breaching charge and the fire extinguisher simultaneously, and they'll land on the ground right next to each other. At that point, just detonate the breaching charge by spamming the detonate button immediately as soon as it hits the ground so that you don't get ripped. And the fire extinguisher will blow up, causing an accidental KO on the barbecue owner, making everybody panic and making it semi-easy for you to get the disguise. This method is slightly less consistent than the gum, but it is quicker, so if you want to do it the faster way, this is the way to go. Take the disguise and get the hell out. For Cassidy's bodyguard, there are multiple options on the map, of course, because it's a guard disguise as usual, but the easiest one is definitely the one that I showcased earlier, roaming around in the backyard of Cassidy's house. You can just knock him out and drag him in a bush and leave him here, change disguises and get the hell out. Or you can just take the bodyguard that's tailing Cassidy once you've knocked him out right before you go to knock out Cassidy after an isolation. For the construction worker, if possible, I recommend definitely starting as this disguise. However, if you can't, the alternatives are you can go go into the backfield area where the construction site is, right behind where the shipping containers are. There are a couple construction workers over here that are kind of isolated. You can just knock out one of these guys and drag them far off into the bush. Swamp Disguise is here and the body shouldn't be found, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about. Otherwise, if you have the snail, you can just walk up to these two construction worker guys that are just talking to each other by the shipping containers. Drop the snail. Both of them will be KO'd, and you can swap disguises at any point. Just make sure that the jogging girl that comes around isn't in the area when you do change disguises. The Exterminator is super easy. He's basically free. He's just standing right in front of James Batty's house, right by his van here. You just walk up behind him and KO him basically at any point. You might want to check to see if the coast is clear, but 99% of the time the coast is clear for this KO. Put his body in the bush here. You don't need to use any resources for this one. Swap disguises in the bush and get the hell out. Very easy disguise. Otherwise, you can start as the Exterminator, which is also a very viable starting spot. The Garbage Man can be one of the trickier disguises on the map for sure, so you can definitely choose to start as Garbage Man. But there are several Garbage Man disguise alternatives on the map that I'm going to go over here. The best and easiest one, I would say, is the 240 timestamp when one of the Garbage Men go right in the backyard where James Batty is. You trank this guy here or KO him here and leave his body here. James Batty will find the body if he's KO'd, so make sure you deal with James Batty as well, but you can leave him here and he won't ever be found as long as you don't make any noise. Alternatively, you're going to need a snail and a Janus bodyguard disguise. Go into the house that's directly next to Janus's house, but not the house that has the Archean robes inside of it. So the house on the opposite side of Janus's house. There are two garbage men just hanging out in the backyard here. Put the snail in between the both of them and KO them both, and take the disguise at any point. These are not actual real garbage men. They're actually guards in disguise, but the disguise still counts as Garbage Man regardless. Finally, there is a free-ish kind of Garbage Man disguise on the map that requires a little bit of traversal. In this same house, there's a basement that you're going to need to enter, and there is a secret passageway. So once you've entered the basement, follow the instructions that I'm doing on screen right here. You're going to need to open this locked door by any means. This room is soundproof, so if you have a loud ballistics gun to do so with, then I'd suggest that. Trigger the book on the bookcase, and it'll open a secret passageway leading to a tunnel that actually traverses into Janus's basement. In this tunnel, there are several interesting things that you're able to pick up, including a free Garbage Man disguise and a free Janus bodyguard disguise. For the gardener, I would 100% recommend starting as the gardener disguise if you're able to, but if you're not, you can grab the gardener that's talking to the deputy that's right in front of Janus's house in the front entrance. So head over to the front entrance of Janus's house and cause a throwing distraction for the deputy. The deputy's going to come over and investigate the throw distraction. Unless you're stupid and threw a briefcase like I did here, the gardener actually grabbed the briefcase himself and dropped it off to the deputy sheriff here and caused this disguise grab to be a little bit longer than it needed to be, but it's no big deal. Once the deputy is distracted and turned around, you just trank the gardener and swap disguises before the deputy turns back around, and you're good to go. That's all there is to it. For the Gunther Müller disguise, it's very easy to get him. I already discussed how to isolate Janus, so once you've isolated Janus and KO'd Gunther, then just take Gunther's disguise and you're good to go. There's really nothing to it. It's a damn good disguise throughout the map. Just make sure that you don't get ripped by any of the enforcers in the immediate vicinity of Janus's house. For James Batty, again, very simple. I already addressed how to get him multiple times. He's in the fumigation house that's right next to Nolan Cassidy's place. Get into the backyard, he'll be wandering around there. You can trank him or KO him pretty much at any time, although I would suggest getting him a lot closer to his shed so that the wandering garbage man doesn't come in and rip you in case you didn't trank James Batty. But once he's KO'd, there you go, you know the drill. Get the disguise and GTFO the fuck out of there. For the Janus bodyguard disguise, again, it's a guard disguise, so you have your pick of the litter, but the easy ones are definitely the ones that are inside of Janus's house, particularly the guard that's inside of Janus's kitchen. He's wandering around that area. You've seen me KO him a couple times already. Just grab his disguise once you've dragged him off to the corner, and you're good to go. Of course, there's also the free Janus bodyguard disguise in the secret basement passageway that I just showcased for the garbage man, but that one's kind of out of the way. For Janus's nurse, you just head straight from the default location. You're going to pass the shipping containers by the construction site on your left, and you're going to take a right. You're going to pass the sinkholes that you see in the ground here on the street, and right up ahead there is going to be a little shack. Right by this shack there's going to be a police deputy and Janus's nurse right in the back area of the shack. Bump into the police deputy so he's distracted, and then ring the little bell on this bike here. Hide in the bush, and at this point you can either trank the nurse and leave him right there as he inspects the little bell, or you can KO him and drag him in the bush and leave him there as well. Swap disguises and you're free to go. Fantastic disguise, even allows full traversal of Janus's house, so very good disguise in that regard. For the mailman, head straight from the default location and take a slight right, and head straight in that direction as if you're going to Janus's house. Right up ahead, there's going to be the mailman talking to a random pedestrian. Hide behind one of these trees here, particularly this one that I'm showcasing on screen. Trank the mailman, and as soon as the guy starts panicking and inspecting the mailman's body, you're free to take the disguise from right behind the NPC and carry on about your day. For the plumber, as you saw earlier in the video, he's in the house for sale, so just get into that house like I showcased earlier and KO the plumber from behind at any point. There's really nothing to worry about here. The plumber's body never gets found as nobody else comes into this house at all whatsoever. Take the disguise and carry on. The police deputy is again another guard disguise, so you have your pick of the litter, but the easiest one by far is the one that's just sleeping on the bench right where the default location is. Run right up to the guy that's just sleeping on the bench, trank him as he's sleeping, and you can change disguises as soon as you're able to. Very low chance you'll get ripped by any NPCs in this area doing this disguise swap, so you'll have nothing to worry about here. The politician is probably the hardest, if not the second hardest disguise to get on the map. It requires a little bit of shenanigans here to deal with, so just bear with me. You're going to need a briefcase for this one, and you're going to need to run up to this tent that says the word Blake on it. Run up beside this weapon box and plant the briefcase in this exact position. At some point, the politician is going to see the briefcase and get a question mark over his head. Right away, you need to grab this hammer that's right beside where the weapon box is and do a throwing distraction right beside the weapon box. That's going to distract the police deputy, and he's going to radio in. At that point, once he's radioing in and the politician's coming over to investigate the briefcase, you need to trank the politician right where he's standing in front of the weapon box and swap disguises here. Make sure you're behind cover for this, as there is a guard that's right in front of the tent that will be able to see you if you're not careful about this one. Grab the disguise and get the hell out of there. You definitely need to be quick about this one. The politician's assistant disguise may be the most annoying disguise to get on the map. Maybe not as difficult as the politician, but it's up there. The easiest way, I think, to get this disguise is to go behind the tent that says Blake on it, as we did before for the politician, except you're not going to place a briefcase this time. You're going to throw one. You'll need to throw the briefcase at this spot here on the fence, and the politician's assistant should be the only one that'll be able to hear it. Make sure that the guard is not close to the politician's assistant when you do this throw, otherwise the guard is going to be the one to come over and investigate the distraction. At that point, keep an eye on the guard straight ahead and wait for him to walk away. As soon as he turns, you can then trank the politician's assistant and grab the disguise. You need to be behind cover for this as well, because there are NPCs to your left, right by the creek, that can rip you quite easily if you don't have the tree in your way, between them and when you swap disguises with the politician's assistant. This is a very consistent strat. It was shown to me by Frody7 initially, so big appreciation to him for showing me the strat, because this guy was a fucking nightmare to get before. The real estate broker is the final fairly tricky disguise to get on this map. There are a couple methods to get him. The easiest one I would suggest is you run over to these bushes over here right in front of where he's eating the muffin. He's going to see you running in the bush and making some noise in the bushes here, and he's going to come over and investigate eventually. At that point, you're going to need to trank him and swap disguises in the bush. Otherwise, you're going to need to grab a briefcase by either putting the stash point at the bench, so there's a briefcase right there ready for you to go, or bringing a briefcase with you in the map from default start. Run over to this NPC girl sitting on the bench, place the briefcase right in front of her, but make sure she doesn't see you place the briefcase. This little method is very finicky, I guess. And then right about where I'm standing in the bush here, I do a throw distraction, which will then cause the real estate broker to come over and investigate. You can then KO the real estate broker in any way. No NPCs are around to see you KO the real estate broker, because you just placed the briefcase for the one NPC that potentially could rip you, being that girl over there. Swap disguises in the bush and get the fuck out of there. For the server, you can definitely start server, which I recommend if you see it in a spin. Otherwise, there are two alternatives on the map that you can get. The one that's serving the muffins, that's right by the real estate broker, you can just trank him, walk right up to his body, crouch down, and change disguises right in front of the real estate broker. There's going to be an obstruction right in front of you, so you're safe to change disguises here without getting ripped. Otherwise, there is a server at the very top floor of the party house in this random room here. You can just KO him by any means necessary and leave him here. Nobody ever finds the body. Swap disguises and get the hell out of there. Sheriff Masterson is actually a unique disguise. He always gets confused by the community with the police deputy, but make no mistake, they're not the same disguise at all. You would go to the right from the default star location and head straight. At the very end of the road, there is Sheriff Masterson just chilling in all his glory right by the manhole here, right where the construction worker and the police deputy are in this quarantined off section. Trank Sheriff Masterson when he's in this spot here, swap disguises, and you're good to go. The way you distinguish Sheriff Masterson from the Sheriff Deputy is you can see that he actually wears pants and a badge on his shirt, whereas the police deputies don't have pants, they have shorts, and they don't have badges on their shirts. So they're slightly more kinky than Sheriff Masterson is. And finally, Spencer the Hammer Green. He is Nolan Cassidy's main bodyguard. I already showcased how to get the letter clue earlier in the video, so it's basically the exact same method. Start default, head to Nolan Cassidy's garage, trigger the generator, knock out Spencer when he comes out to investigate the generator, and you can leave his body here as long as you're not planning on isolating Nolan Cassidy in the garage later on. Swap disguisers and get the hell out of there. Alright, and that does it for the disguises. Really impressed that this map, being as little as it is, still manages to contain that many disguises to take. It's so much fun going around this map and finding out where all of them are. It's actually surprising considering how difficult a few of the disguises are to get on this map, especially when you compare it to past maps where none of them really had that much of a challenge required to get any of them. There were always little tricks to make disguises happen a little bit faster, but for the most part, every disguise was obtainable one way or another in fairly easy methods. Not so much the case with this map with several disguises, so pretty cool to see that, and definitely gives Whittleton Creek something else going for it besides just the aesthetic. There's definitely a challenge to be had here. Alright, well, moving on, we're going to do the best part, my favorite part, my spin demonstration. This is going to be probably a one and done because it's Whittleton Creek, but it's going to be a fun one because it's Whittleton fucking Creek. So let's do this shit. Let's see what we get. Alright, we have a fairly interesting spin here for this one. Definitely not one of the easier spins for Whittleton Creek, so I'm loving this. We've got Janus must be killed with a hatchet dressed as Janus's nurse, and Nolan Cassidy must be killed with a loud sniper rifle dressed as the Exterminator. Pretty exciting spin. I love loud ballistic kills. And the hatchet is actually an interesting melee item on this map that a lot of people aren't even aware of where the location is. So it'll be good to demonstrate where that is too. I'm opting to start in the default location. I am bringing a calmer, a crowbar, a seeker, and a loud sniper rifle with me. Hopefully this is a one and done. Let's see what we can do. Here we go. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to go off and get the hatchet. The hatchet is actually an interesting melee item for this fucking map because there's only one of them on the entire map, and it's actually buried right by where the construction site and shipping containers is, and the burial site for it is not that easy to locate if you don't know what you're looking for. So I'm glad that this popped up just in case, because a lot of people don't know where the hatchet is, and yeah, just happy that I'm able to demonstrate it for those people who don't know. So it's just in this patch over here. You're going to see this keep out sign, which means you're in the right area, and then keep an eye on your instinct. There is a hidden spot here in the ground. There it is. Grab the hatchet. And fun fact about the hatchet, you can actually store it in a briefcase. A lot of people don't know about that either because they immediately think axes. You can't store axes in briefcases. That only applies to certain axes like battle axe, fire axe, etc. But you can actually put a hatchet in a briefcase because it is a smaller item. So it doesn't quite qualify as an axe. Anyways, we're heading over to Janus's nurse now, right where this shack is. And like I said earlier, you're going to walk up to this, run up to this police deputy and bump into him at full speed. That way he's distracted, and then you ring the bell on the bike. If you were to ring the bell on the bike without distracting the police deputy first, then he would be actually the one to go inspect the bike sound. So, yeah, just track the nurse here and then take the outfit and GTFO, you're good. So, awesome. I'm actually really fortunate with this spin because the nurse is completely legal in Janus's house, which is probably the most annoying area in the map to deal with, so I really lucked out with this one. Pretty damn cool. So I'm hopping the fence over to the party house, and now we're going to hop the fence over to Janus's house in the backyard here and just walk on leisurely throughout the area because we don't have anything to worry about. We're not trespassing, nothing. It's all good. Janus is already sitting down talking to Helen, the girl that lives next door where the Archean robes are located. And I'm going to knock out this Janus bodyguard here, and then I'm going to proceed to knock out Gunther Müller here. Okay, knocked his bitch ass out, and then I'm going to hatch Janus in the face. We're good to go. Janus is dead. We're going to drag his body over to Gunther so that we don't get ripped.
Death feels like an easy way out for him.
And that's perfect. Now, I don't even need to swap disguises here. I'm just going to go downstairs, grab this clue. I'm going to knock out this bodyguard down here, because I'm not actually allowed to be down here, even in the nurse outfit, which is fine and dandy. But there's the photograph clue that we grabbed. And I'm going to take out the camera box too, just for shits and gigs. Don't even need to, but it's whatever.
Perhaps he's still at...
All right, we're in good shape. We're in really good shape. This is a good one.
This could be valuable information indeed.
Again, like I said, pretty damn fortunate that I had such a decent disguise for this part of the map. This is probably one of the better disguises in Whittleton Creek, I'd say, Janice's nurse. Pretty cool that it's also unique. So, it definitely is worth getting if you're able to. And if it comes up in a spin, you're more than likely going to be in a good position. So, anyways, now we're going over to my smuggle point, where my sniper rifle's located, my loud sniper rifle that I'm going to use for the Cassidy kill. This is the bench smuggle point. Oh, let's snuggle our sniper rifle. Yeah, this is the bench smuggle point. And it is probably the best smuggle point in the map. Well, that or maybe Janice's kitchen. I don't know. They're both pretty damn good. There's also the park shed that's pretty good as well. But the bench is probably my favorite, just because it's right there on the way to both targets. And here's the Exterminator. Again, like I said, one of the easiest disguises to get, because you just walk up right behind him, smack him in the back of the head with a friggin' briefcase or whatever, and drag him in the bush right behind you. And you're good to go. Swap disguises and GTFO the fudge out of here. It's no big deal. I have one secret shot that I'm going to use for Nolan now. I'm going to bring him in the backyard and let him isolate himself. And everything else I need is back here as well, so this is perfect. Might as well get him over here while I can. Take out James Batty, even though I don't really need to. Well, actually, no, I do, because this kill is allowed. So yeah, take out James Batty. It's perfect that he was actually on his porch for that, because the porch KOs for James' body are great, because no one's going to see his body guaranteed that way. It's one of the safest spots for him to be when you KO him, so. That or in his shed, obviously. Grab the shovel, grab the newspaper for the second clue. The shovel's on the ground, I just dropped that. And I'm going to proceed to KO Cassidy's bodyguard, and then KO Cassidy. I tranked the bodyguard just in case. Because, again, it is a loud kill, and I don't want anybody screwing me over by ripping me by seeing an unconscious guard there, so that would be really shitty, especially for a Whittleton Creek spin. I'm going to drag Cassidy's body over to these bushes, because it's better if he's just hidden during this kill the whole time. You get him in these bushes, and he's concealed for the entire thing. It's great. Even in sort of the more open areas of the bushes, he's still technically considered concealed, so... Great spot for the loud ballistic kills as well. I'm going to grab my sniper rifle. And at this point, it's just kind of I don't know, you just kind of shoot the shit out of him where you go. You grab the cigar box from the little hole here in the friggin' ground and stuff. Sorry, I'm fucking tired. I haven't slept very much, so I'm trying to find descriptions, but I can't description right now. So there's a cigar box. Grab that bitch. And fortunately, I didn't even mention this, but the Exterminator is allowed in James Batty's backyard. That's kind of cool. So there's the kill on Cassidy. Everybody's panicked. Just keep crouched for this, because, you know, could easily get ripped here. And that's that. A bit of a longer spin for Whittleton Creek, because I had to do a little extra setup. I might have been able to shave off a good 30 seconds there or so if I decided to start as the Exterminator, but I really wanted that Seeker and that Calmer combination, so I thought starting as a default location would have been the better option. So there you go, 5 stars, Sound Assassin, 6 minutes, 12 seconds, not bad. First try though, so I'm always happy about that. Whittleton Creek is almost always a first try, doesn't matter who you are. If you're ripping on Whittleton Creek, it just means you're not practiced enough, and you'll eventually get there, don't worry. Because once you get up to a certain level, these spins are almost always first try on these little maps here, so. Good shit. Love this map. That was a shit ton of fun. Okay, and that about does it for Whittleton Creek. What a sweet little map.
It's just a sweet little good up for my map. It's just so sweet.
It's adorable. What's not to love about this little thing? So, really hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something. I can't believe how far the series has come, and I can't believe the reception I've been getting from you guys. It really means a lot to me. I'm super glad that this is helping everybody out. The series means a lot to me. I put a lot of work into these videos, so every little bit of positive encouragement and reinforcement goes a long way. Thank you so much for the likes and the comments and the subscriptions. It truly is a blast for me doing this, so I'm glad that it's being well received. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Be sure to tune in next time when we do the Isle of Scale, that map is definitely, it's a tricky one to say the least, so we're going to have a lot to cover when we go over that one. I'm really looking forward to it, as usual. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video around. It really helps me out. And until next time, keep rocking out and keep gaming.